Hey guys, I'm here for the second time today, and I'm doing a preseason top 25 for the upcoming college football season. Check me out on the sportscast.net and check out, I just had a video on my explanation of the team talent formula. Now it's my preseason top 25. I'll bring up my formula a little bit when it comes to this, and let's see where we can agree, and let's see where we can have some disagreement. I always love these preseason lists. People just get really heated. Why are they in the top 25? Why? Well, this article is going to be posted with this video. Number one, Alabama. Best roster, most talented roster, best coach. We're in the national title game last year. Heisman Trophy quarterback, best defensive player in college football. Duh. Number two, Ohio State. Heisman Trophy finalist at quarterback with the best receiving core possibly in college football, with the best receiver probably in Jackson Smith and Adigba. A lot of experience. Third most talented roster according to Team Talent Formula. They're in the Big Ten. They're better than anyone else in the Big Ten. They have a little bit of a tough schedule. That'd be my one caveat for Ohio State. They play Notre Dame, a top 25 team. They play Michigan, a top 25 team. They play Penn State, a top 25 team. A team like Michigan, top 25. I haven't looked at the rest of their schedule, but they might play Purdue this year. I would have to look at it. But they have several top 25 matches. And so it's tough. It's tough to week in, week out win all those. So I could see them dropping a game. They might not end up in number two, but still a great roster, very talented, great quarterback, great coach in Ryan Day. I feel pretty comfortable they'll be pretty good this year. Number three, Georgia, defending national champions. Lost a lot, but they still have the second most talented roster according to my formula. A plethora of 5 stars, top 100 players, blue chip players. Just a phenomenal roster. I do wonder about the losses, and I'm telling you, the game that it would worry me, and I'm an Oregon fan, but Oregon, the first game of the season, they're playing against their former defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning, with a lot of new faces on defense, some new faces, the skill positions on offense. I think Stetson Bennett is kind of at his ceiling. He's just an okay quarterback. I think that line is it's plus 17 for Georgia. I don't think it's gonna be that big a blowout. I think I'd pick Georgia because it's in Georgia and I think there's still a more talented roster, but I could see it being something like 21-17. I think it's a pretty good defensive matchup, and I've went in my last episode about the talent on the defense for Oregon. Oregon has several guys that are going to be drafted in the first couple of rounds next year. So several, I mean like 3 or 4. Watch out for that. I have Georgia third. For Clemson, Clemson just brings back a lot of talent. They have a lot of great defensive talent. Brazy, Miles, Trenton Simpson. I mean, just several guys in that defense. I think that talent alone will carry them through the ACC. We'll see. They need to step it up offensively because once again, they can lose some games to teams like North Carolina State, who's in my top 25, and Wake Forest. Possibly in North Carolina. So let's see where they're at. My number 5 team's Utah, and they're one of my anomalies because I think they're the only team in my top 10 that was not in my top 25 team talent formula. But they're the defending Pac-12 champions. They return their starting quarterback, starting running back, probably the 2 best guys at their position in the Pac-12. And they have great coaching in Kyle Whittingham, great defensive staff led by Morgan Scalley. Not the hardest schedule. They do have games against USC and at Oregon. And at Oregon's the one that I'd probably say the only one that I would not feel good. Oregon will be ready for that game at home against a team they lost to so badly 2 times. That'll be a close game. But other than that, I could see Utah. They play BYU. That's a decently tough game. They play Florida to start the season in Florida, who has a more talented roster. But I still think Utah's a team that 10, 11 wins is very possible this year. Then A&M. A&M, it's the talent. I don't feel super comfortable putting A&M here. They have questions on offense. They've a young team. This feels like I really went with, you know what, I just think they have a better roster than most teams. So I'm going to trust that they win 10 games because of that. I don't love it. I don't love A&M here. I don't. I will see if it works out to be good, but I don't love A&M here. Oregon 7, and I've kind of gone over Oregon. Yeah, they're my team, so maybe I'm favoring them. But I just think they're a lot more talented than the rest of the rosters in the Pac-12, and the numbers show that. And most of their tough games, other than Georgia, are at home. Utah, UCLA, Washington, who I don't even know how tough they're going to be. So, Stanford. And their games on the road are just Cal, Arizona, Washington. Teams that aren't that good. They definitely don't have the roster talent. I think Oregon wins at least 10 games, maybe 11. Pull off the upset against Georgia. Who knows? I mean, I just think the cupboard was left pretty full for Dan Lanning. He's stepping into a very good situation where he has a better roster than anyone else in the conference, especially defensively. The only question is offense. If the quarterback, if Bo Nix doesn't get it right, if Ty Thompson can't get it right, that's my question. But as long as they got it going on defense and a good enough offense, 10, 11 wins. I could see them beating Utah, especially at home. Wisconsin, I just think I think they're a top 25 roster as far as the team talent formula. And they have some good players. They have some very good defensive players. They have a very good offensive line. If they can just get they have a wide receiver. I forget his name, but he's really standing out up there. I'm hearing some good reports on. If Grand Mertz, or maybe his backup, can figure out how to just be a good quarterback. They have Braylon Allen, one of the best running backs in college football. With that run game, with that offensive line, with a solid defense in the Big Ten West, they have to be a pretty good team this year, and I'm betting on that. I'm betting on them getting back to being a top 10 level team. Oklahoma lost a lot, including Lincoln Riley, but I still think they have a lot of pieces, offense and defense, along with a good coach in Venables. They hired a good guy. They have to be the favorite to win the Pac-12. I mean, the Pac-12. Yeah, they're the favorite. The Big 12. So, but. You'll see here I have Oklahoma at 9, Oklahoma State at 11, and I have Baylor at 15. And I actually didn't rank Texas, which, you know what? The more I think about it, because I'm like, Texas's roster, I got to start betting on them. This is on the fly, so I'm changing this on the fly. I'm going to rank Texas. I am going to rank Texas. I'm going to jump in here. This is literally doing it on the fly. Are you supposed to do it like this? I'm going to put Texas at number 20. And that will drop out LSU. So LSU, sorry guys, you're out. So so Texas at 20, Big 12. That's a fourth team. So... And I'm doing that. They had a terrible year last year, but I think with maybe the best running back in the conference, with maybe the best wide receiver, with the most talented young quarterback in Quinn Ewers, I'm betting on the offense winning 9, 10 games. I don't feel great, but I'm putting them at 20. So there's not like a ton of pressure here for me. So to continue on. In the Big Ten, Michigan lost a lot on defense, but they still have some good defensive players, and they bring back their quarterback, both their quarterbacks, so J.J. McCarthy or Cade McNamara. Jim Harbaugh is still one of the better coaches in college football. I put them in the top 10. Don't feel great. They have a tough schedule: Ohio State, Penn State. I believe they have Wisconsin, Michigan State, but I'm going to have faith that they're a top 10 level team. Oklahoma State's another team, lost a lot on defense. They do bring back a very experienced offense, especially a quarterback. Gundy's another guy that I trust on the offensive side of the ball. They somehow always figure out how to have a pretty good team. Don't feel great. Notre Dame at 12. Notre Dame is another team that lost a lot, including their head coach. they could go a few different directions. I could see Notre Dame being someone, because of their talent, they have a number 9 roster according to the team talent formula. I could see them being top 10, 10-2. Their schedule's not vicious. I could also see them losing several games, and just a younger staff, younger team a little bit, being in that 8-4, 7-5 range. Could go a couple different directions. NC State, bring back a pretty experienced roster. I kind of like them there. That's the biggest challenger to Clemson. But same with Wake Forest, 13-14, 2 ACC schools. I like the experience. I like the coaching staffs. Dave Clawson and Doran, I think, are both solid coaches who when they at least get those guys, when they at least get experienced rosters behind them, they tend to be pretty good. So I'm going to go with there. Don't ever feel great because those rosters aren't extremely laden with NFL guys, but I think they'll be a pretty good team. 15, Baylor. Honestly, don't feel great about Baylor. Not a top 25 roster. I know that by the numbers. They lose a lot. They lost a ton of great Jaden Petrie and several other guys on the defensive side of the ball. But I trust Dave Aranda. I think he's a very good coach. I loved what he did last year. He almost made them the college football playoff. They won the Big 12. They won their New Year's Six Bowl. But I don't feel great. Number 16. So Oregon's biggest rival, honestly, in 2022 is USC. I don't love USC, but they got Lincoln Riley, and they did very good in the portal. They have the best quarterback from the portal in Caleb Williams. Jordan Addison, the Blitnikoff Award winner, they got a wide receiver. Mario Williams, who's a big-time stud recruit and had a very good freshman year at Oklahoma. Travis Dye, who was an all Pac-12 level running back in the Pac-12. They got from Oregon. Because the schedule's not tough and they have all these great pieces on offense, and Lincoln Riley is probably the best offensive coach in college football, I'm going to say yes, they're going to be pretty good. Pretty good meaning 9-3. I still don't love the personnel on the offensive line or defensive line more than anything, the depth. They have a couple good Voorhees and Dietrich on the offense, and a guy like Eric Gentry and Corey Foreman on the defense. But outside of a couple guys, and if those guys get hurt, I don't like the depth. And I think they're a team that you can run on. I think they're a team that you can definitely score on if you're going against their defense. And I think they're a team, if you can really get on line of scrimmage and get after the quarterback, you can cause them problems because I don't think they have a lot of depth in an offensive line. Think Utah. Think Oregon. Maybe even a UCLA. Those games could be tough because I think really when it comes to the offensive line on offense and the front seven on defense, I don't love the USC roster. Now, I know they're in the top number 12 in my formula, but most of that, if you look at it deeper, is skill positions. It's quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight ends, defensive backs, and a few young guys in the defensive front seven. I don't love it, but I'm going to go with 16 with them. I think they're a 9-3 type team, and that's mostly based upon just that phenomenal skill talent on offense. Cincinnati at 17, don't feel great. They lost a lot of pieces, but I trust Luke Fickell, especially in that conference. 18, I actually like Houston, what they're bringing back more. The problem is they didn't win it last year, so I'm giving Cincinnati the benefit of the doubt. I really like BYU. Offensively, bring back their quarterback and a lot of pieces on offense. They do have a fairly tough schedule. Third game of the season, I know they play Oregon. They also play Utah. I forget. I would have to look at some of the other games, but they have a decently tough schedule. I think they play Baylor again. They might even play. Hold on, I'm gonna look at this. Since I changed the top 25 in real time, why don't I do this? Football schedule. Yep, they play Baylor, they play BYU, they play Notre Dame. That's a tough game for Notre Dame. That's another one that I didn't think of. Play Arkansas. Arkansas is number 23. Liberty, that's my alma mater. I live in Lynchburg. I'm going to go see that game. Sneaky tough game. Boise State always is a tough game. And then who knows with Stanford. But there's just actually they do not play Utah this year. That's interesting. But Baylor, Oregon, Notre Dame, Arkansas. There's enough games there, Boise State, that they're going to lose a few games. But I could see them being a 9-3 team and upsetting one of those teams. If I had to pull off an upset, if I had to look at one, Notre Dame at BYU. That's a game that I could see Notre Dame losing, BYU winning. Talked about Texas. It's all about that offense. If they can just be decent on defense, they could be a 9-10 win team. Iowa, they're an 8-9 win 10 every year, right? Gotta trust Iowa. Penn State, who knows with Penn State? They have a top 15 roster. They have some good pieces on offense and on defense, but 4-5 2 years ago, 7-6 last year. I don't know. They play Michigan State. They play Michigan, play Ohio State, they play Auburn. I don't know. They're a team that, actually, since I'm looking at schedules, do they play? Sorry, no, I'm stopping. They play Purdue. They play Wisconsin? They don't this year. But, I mean, I would probably give them the victory over Purdue opening week. Ohio, they win. Auburn's at Auburn. I don't know. At Michigan, I don't know if I'd give them that. Ohio State at Penn State, that's obviously going to be a tough one. Michigan State. I mean, 8-9 wins, I could see. But I don't know. They're a team I don't trust. Arkansas, tough schedule. Arkansas obviously has, the Alabama, A&M, LSU, Auburn. Then they also play BYU, as I pulled up earlier. It's a pretty tough schedule. Let's see how they do. Tennessee, same thing. I like what they have at quarterback. I like Hendon Hooker. He could end up being the best quarterback other than Bryce Young in the conference this year. And a very good coach on the offensive side of the ball in Josh Heupel. I think they're an 8-9 win team. I think that's a fair place to rank them. Michigan State, 25. They're a team that I almost didn't rank. Tough schedule. I mentioned you've heard them mentioned several times, right? Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. But then lost some pieces. They lost Walker, who was one of the best running backs in college football. They're a team that I could see dropping off to like 7-8 wins this year. I'm kind of going off last year. I don't feel super confident about that. Once again, breaking it down, I believe it was 6 SEC, 6 Big Ten, 3 Pac-12, 3 Big 12. I believe it was 3 in the ACC, a couple AACs, and an independent. So the big dogs are good again, Big Ten, SEC. But I think you're going to – let's just say, when I looked at that, my first 4 were easy. Like, I was like, first 4, bam. That's who. So, if college football playoff might be that easy. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson. If that's college football playoff, no one will be surprised. It got after that I was like, where do I put these other teams? But then, I think Utah and Oregon are dark horse college football playoff teams. I really do. You would have to keep an eye on Oklahoma State, Baylor in the Big 12, especially if one of them can go 12-1. And Notre Dame is a team that if they could they have a decently tough schedule. If they can beat the USCs, the BYUs, and upset Ohio State especially, they're a team that can also make the college football playoff. Maybe put USC in there with Ohio. You never know. I've seen them the last few years. They were 5-7 last year. They were. Call me skeptical that they are going to. Yeah, they're going to turn around enough to make the college football playoff. But I'd also maybe put like a team like Houston as a really dark horse going undefeated in the group of 5. It's tough to make it, but who knows? Anyways, guys, thank you. That's my top 25. Check it out at sportscast.net.